Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Fluency. I am so happy to see you here. I am Alex, your host and your guide on this journey to mastering the English language. Today we have a very special lesson, one that I have been preparing for a long time, because I know exactly what you need right now. We are going to focus on B1 English practice, specifically targeting your listening confidence. I know that listening can be the hardest part of learning a language. You study grammar, you learn vocabulary, you practice reading, but then you turn on a movie or talk to a native speaker, and suddenly it feels like they are speaking at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It feels overwhelming, doesn't it? Your heart beats a little faster, your palms might get sweaty, and you just want to say, "Sorry, I don't understand." But today, that changes. Today, we are going to improve your listening confidence step by step. We are going to learn how to stay calm and understand more. So, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let's begin this journey together. We are going to break this down into clear stages. And for this first stage, we are going to focus on the mindset of listening and how to stop panicking when you hear English. To help us understand this, I want to introduce you to two friends. Let's call them Sarah and Liam. Sarah and Liam have been studying English for about 2 years. They are at a B1 level, just like many of you. One sunny Saturday, they decided to travel to a nearby city for a small vacation. They were very excited, but Sarah was also very nervous. She was worried about the train station. She was worried about buying tickets and understanding the announcements. Liam, on the other hand, was quite relaxed. He had his coffee in one hand and his phone in the other. When they arrived at the train station, it was very noisy. People were running everywhere, and the speakers were making crackling sounds. Suddenly, a voice came over the loudspeaker. "Attention passengers! The train departing from Platform 4 for the central city has been delayed by approximately 15 minutes. We apologize for any inconvenience." Sarah looked at Liam with wide, panicked eyes. She grabbed his arm and whispered, "What did he say? Did he say cancelled? I heard the word platform, but everything else was so fast. What are we going to do?" She was already feeling stressed. She was focusing so hard on every single word that she missed the main message. Liam smiled at her, took a sip of his coffee, and said, "Relax, Sarah. He just said the train is late. It's not cancelled. We have 15 minutes to grab a snack." See the difference here? Sarah heard the same words as Liam, but her brain was in panic mode. She was trying to translate every word into her native language in her head. This is the most common mistake we make. When we panic, our brain closes down. We stop hearing clearly. So, the first step to improving your listening confidence is to stop trying to understand every single word. You need to let go of the idea of perfection. Imagine you are looking at a painting. If you stand 1 inch away from the painting, you only see the colors and the brush strokes. You don't see the picture. But if you take a step back, you see the whole image. Listening is the same. If you focus too close on one word, you miss the meaning of the sentence. You need to step back and listen to the whole picture. When the announcement at the station played, Sarah focused on the word platform because she recognized it, but she got lost in the connecting words. Liam focused on the emotion and the key words. He heard Platform 4, delayed, and 15 minutes. He ignored the rest. That is the secret. You do not need to understand the words approximately or inconvenience to know that you have time to buy a snack. Let's try a little exercise right now to practice this. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Just listen to the sound of my voice. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't think about spelling. Just listen to the rhythm. The sun is shining brightly today, and the birds are singing in the tall trees outside my window. Now, open your eyes. What was the most important information there? Was it brightly? Was it tall? No. The most important information was sun shining, birds singing, and trees. You understood the situation perfectly without analyzing every adjective. This is what we call global listening. It is listening for the main idea, not the details. When you are in a conversation or watching a video, try to catch the subject, the action, and the time. Who is doing what and when? If you catch those three things, you will understand 80% of the situation. Now, let's go back to Sarah and Liam at the station. Sarah was still feeling a bit anxious, so Liam decided to help her practice. He told her, "Sarah, imagine that your ears are like a net, a big fishing net. You are trying to catch the big fish, the important words. The small fish, the small grammar words like the, at, to, they can swim through the net. You don't need to catch them, just catch the big fish." Sarah laughed a little. She tried to visualize this net. A few minutes later, another announcement came on. "Would passengers please note that the cafe on Platform 2 is now closed for cleaning. Refreshments are available at the main entrance." Sarah listened. She imagined her net. She caught the words cafe, closed, and main entrance. She turned to Liam and smiled. "The cafe is closed. We have to go to the main entrance for food," she said. Liam gave her a high five. She did it. She didn't panic. She didn't try to translate, "Would passengers please note?" She just caught the big fish. She understood the message, and that gave her a boost of confidence. This is the feeling we want to replicate for you. When you realize that you don't need to understand everything to communicate, the pressure disappears. You can stay calm. Staying calm is physically important for listening. When you are stressed, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol actually blocks your brain's ability to process language. So, by staying calm, you are physically helping your brain to work better. It is a scientific fact. So, the next time you are listening to English and you feel that moment of panic rising, I want you to do one simple thing. I want you to physically drop your shoulders. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Say to yourself, "I only need to understand the main idea." This simple act will reset your brain and allow you to hear better. Let's practice this with a short story. I will tell you a story about a man named David. David loves to cook. One day, he decided to bake a cake for his sister's birthday. He went to the supermarket to buy ingredients. He bought flour, sugar, eggs, and some chocolate. When he got home, he realized he had forgotten the baking powder. He was upset because he didn't want to go back to the store. He called his neighbor, Mrs. Green, to ask if he could borrow some. Mrs. Green said she would be happy to help. She came over with the baking powder, and they ended up making the cake together. It was the best cake David had ever made. Now, pause for a second. Did you understand every word? Maybe not. But can you answer these questions? What did David want to make? A cake. Who was it for? His sister. What did he forget? Baking powder. Who helped him? Mrs. Green. You see? You understood the whole story perfectly. You didn't need to know if the chocolate was dark or milk, or exactly what time of day it was. You caught the big fish. You listened globally. This is the foundation of B1 listening. It is about confidence. It is about trusting yourself. You know more English than you think you do. When you hear a sentence, your brain often understands it before your conscious mind translates it. We need to bypass that translation step. We need to go straight from ear to understanding. Think about how you listen to music in a foreign language. Even if you don't speak the language, you can tell if a song is sad or happy, fast or slow. You are listening to the tone and the rhythm. You can do the same with English. If someone is speaking very quickly and smiling, you know they are telling a happy story. If they are speaking slowly and looking down, they might be sad or serious. Use these clues. They are part of listening. So, to recap this first section, we learned that panic is the enemy of listening. We learned that we don't need to understand every word, only the key words, the big fish. We learned about global listening and staying calm to help our brains process information. We saw how Sarah practiced this at the train station and succeeded. And we practiced with the story of David baking a cake. I want you to take these concepts and think about them this week. Whenever you listen to something in English, whether it is a song, a podcast, or a video, try to catch the main idea without worrying about the details. Visualize that fishing net catching the big words. Stay calm. You can do this. Now, we are going to go deeper. We have talked about the mindset of staying calm and catching the big words. Now, we are going to talk about what happens when you catch a big word that you don't know. This happens all the time, right? You are listening, you are feeling calm, you hear a word that sounds important, but you have no idea what it means. What do you do? Do you stop? Do you freeze? No. You use the power of context. Context is simply the situation or the words around the new word. It is like a puzzle. If you have a piece of the puzzle with blue sky and green grass, you can guess where it goes, even if you haven't seen the picture on the box yet. English words are the same. They live inside a situation, and that situation gives you clues to their meaning. Let's go back to our friends Sarah and Liam. Remember they were at the train station? Well, they finally got on their train, and they traveled to the city. They decided to go to a museum because it started to rain outside. They were walking through a large hall filled with old paintings. It was very quiet and peaceful. Suddenly, they heard a guide speaking to a group of tourists. The guide pointed to a large painting and said, "This masterpiece was created in the 17th century, and it depicts a beautiful landscape with a river flowing through it." Sarah heard the word masterpiece. She stopped. She whispered to Liam, "Masterpiece. What is a masterpiece? I have never heard this word." But instead of panicking, she looked around. She looked at where the guide was pointing. She saw a beautiful, very famous painting. She looked at the people's faces. They looked amazed. The guide said it was created in the 17th century, and it depicts a landscape. Sarah's brain started working. She thought, okay, it is something old. It is a painting. It is beautiful. People admire it. She realized that masterpiece must mean a very great work of art. She didn't need a dictionary. She used the clues. She used the context. The painting was the clue. The year was the clue. The faces of the people were the clue. Liam nodded at her and whispered, "Exactly. A masterpiece is the best work of an artist." Sarah was so proud of herself. She figured it out on her own. This is what active listening looks like. It is not just hearing, it is thinking. It is solving little puzzles in real time. This skill is crucial for B1 learners because you cannot know every word in the English language. There are thousands and thousands of words. Even native speakers don't know every word. But native speakers are very good at guessing. They are very good at using context. You need to be like a detective. When you hear a new word, look for the clues. Clue number 1 is the situation. Is the person in a kitchen, a bank, a park? If you are in a restaurant and you hear the word appetizer, you can guess it is food, even if you don't know the exact definition. Clue number 2 is the tone of voice. Is the speaker happy, angry, serious? This helps you understand if the word is positive or negative. Clue number 3 is the other words in the sentence. This is called synonyms or explanations. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are listening to a story about a man named James. James loves to run. One day, he woke up and felt very sore. His legs hurt. He decided to go to the doctor. The doctor checked his legs and said, "James, you have a sprain. You have pulled a muscle in your leg." Now, maybe you don't know the word sprain. That is okay. Look at the context. He went to the doctor. His legs hurt. He pulled a muscle. You can guess that a sprain is an injury. You might not know it is specifically a ligament injury, but you know enough to understand the story. James is hurt. He needs to rest. That is the most important part. You don't need to be a doctor to understand that. Let's try another practice story together. This one is a bit faster, so listen for the main idea and try to guess the meaning of the new words. Imagine a woman named Emily. Emily works in a big office. She is very busy. One morning, her boss called her into his office. He looked serious. He told her that the company was having some financial problems. He said they had to reduce costs. He told Emily that, unfortunately, her position was being made redundant. He shook her hand, and she left the office. Emily went home and felt very sad because she had lost her job. Okay, pause. Did you understand the story? The key new word here was redundant. Let's look at the clues. Financial problems, reduce costs, and then she left the office. And she felt very sad because she had lost her job. The story actually tells you what redundant means. It means losing your job because the company doesn't need the position anymore. Even if you didn't know that word, you understood Emily lost her job. The context explained it for you. This is why listening is a skill that involves predicting. You can often predict what someone is going to say before they say it. For example, if I say, "I am so hungry, I could eat a..." Your brain is already thinking the word horse, or cow, or elephant, or simply a lot of food. You are predicting the end of the sentence based on the context of, "I am so hungry." When you listen, try to predict. This keeps your brain active and engaged. When you are actively predicting, you are less likely to get lost. And if you predict wrong, that is okay too. You just correct yourself and keep listening. It is all part of the process. We also need to talk about connected speech. This is a big reason why listening is difficult. In school, we often learn words separately. How, are, you. But in real life, native speakers connect words together. How are you becomes how are you. I am going to go becomes I'm gonna go. This can be very confusing for B1 learners. But remember what we learned earlier? Stay calm. Do not focus on the separate sounds. Focus on the rhythm. If you hear someone say, What you doing? You might not recognize the words immediately, but if you are in a casual situation and a friend is walking up to you, the context tells you they are asking, "What are you doing?" You don't need to hear every letter. You just need to recognize the rhythm and the situation. Sarah experienced this too. After the museum, she and Liam went to a small cafe to eat lunch. The waiter came over and spoke very quickly. He said, "Hi, folks. Can I get you started with some drinks?" Sarah froze for a second. "Getcha," she thought. But then she looked at the menu. She saw drinks. She saw the waiter holding a notepad. She realized getcha was get you. She smiled and ordered water. She realized that connected speech is just a lazy way of speaking. It is not a test. It is just people being comfortable. When she relaxed, she understood. She realized that she didn't need to analyze the grammar of getcha. She just needed to understand the offer. Can I get you? It is an offer of help. Understanding the function is more important than the form. So, in this section, we have learned that context is king. We learned to be detectives and look for clues in the situation, the tone, and the surrounding words. We practiced with the story of James and the sprain, and Emily, and the word redundant. We also touched on connected speech and how to relax when words sound mushed together. The goal is to understand the message, not to analyze the grammar. You are building a map in your head. Every word you catch is a landmark. If you miss one, you can still find your way to the destination using the other landmarks. I want you to practice this detective listening today. Listen to any English audio, maybe a short news clip, or a video on YouTube. When you hear a word you don't know, don't stop. Don't look it up immediately. Wait. Listen to the rest of the sentence. Look at the video if there is one. Try to guess what it means. Write your guess down on a piece of paper. Then, after the video is over, you can look it up to see if you were right. This active guessing will make the word stick in your memory much better than if you just looked it up straight away. It builds confidence because it shows you that you are smart enough to figure things out on your own. Now, we are going to take a step forward. Listening in a quiet room or with one teacher is one thing, but real life is messy. Real life is noisy. Real life involves groups of people, telephones, and fast-moving conversations. Today, we are going to tackle these more complex scenarios step by step so you can stay calm and understand more, no matter where you are. Let's introduce two new friends to help us with this next stage. Their names are Mark and Chloe. Mark and Chloe have been studying English for a while, just like you. They have a good vocabulary, but Mark gets very nervous when there is more than one person speaking. Last weekend, they were invited to a dinner party at a friend's house. There were about 10 people there, sitting around a big table. Everyone was eating, laughing, and talking at the same time. For Mark, this was a nightmare. He felt like he was in the middle of a storm of words. He sat there smiling politely, but inside he was thinking, "I can't understand anything. It is just noise." He looked at Chloe, who was sitting next to him, laughing and chatting with the person on her left. How was she doing it? The secret to listening in groups is what we call anchoring. You cannot listen to 3 people at once. It is impossible. Even native speakers cannot do that. When there is a group conversation, you have to choose one person to be your anchor. You focus 80% of your attention on that one person. You look at their face, you watch their lips, and you listen to their tone. The other people in the room are just background noise, like music in a cafe. Let's watch Mark try this. At the dinner table, the man sitting across from Mark started telling a story about his holiday. But the woman next to Mark was asking about the food. Mark felt pulled in two directions. He felt that stress rising again. But then he remembered what he learned about panic. He dropped his shoulders. He decided to anchor himself to the man telling the holiday story. He looked right at the man. He ignored the woman asking about salt and pepper. By anchoring his attention, Mark started to hear the story clearly. The man said, "So we were driving through the mountains, and suddenly the engine stopped. It was terrifying." Mark heard mountains, engine stopped, and terrifying. He didn't hear every word, but he understood the main idea. They had car trouble in a scary place. When the man finished his story, Mark could laugh or look surprised in the right places. He was part of the conversation. Then he switched his anchor. He turned to the woman next to him and focused on her. This technique saves you from being overwhelmed. You give yourself permission to miss parts of the conversation so you can understand the parts that matter right now. It is not rude. It is a survival strategy for language learners. If you try to catch everything, you catch nothing. Anchoring allows you to stay calm in the chaos. After the dinner party, Mark and Chloe went home, and Mark admitted he was exhausted. He said, "Listening to all those people made my brain hurt." Chloe understood. She told him that the hardest listening challenge is actually talking on the telephone. This is true, because when we talk on the phone, we lose 50% of our communication. We cannot see the person's face. We cannot see their hands or their body language. We can't see if they are smiling or confused. We only have our ears. The next day, Mark had to make a very important phone call. He had to call the internet company to fix his Wi-Fi. He was dreading it. He sat at his table with his phone, his heart beating fast. To prepare, Mark decided to use a strategy called preparation and prediction. Before he dialed the number, he wrote down a list of words he expected to hear. Words like connection, router, password, slow, technician, and appointment. He also prepared phrases he might need to say, like, "Could you please repeat that?" and "I don't understand." Having this paper in front of him acted like a safety net. He didn't have to remember everything. He just had to listen for the words on his list. When the call started, a recorded voice came on. It was fast and robotic. "Welcome to support. For technical issues, press 1. For billing, press 2. Mark listened carefully. He heard technical issues and press 1. He did it. He felt a small win. Then a real person answered, "Hello. Thank you for calling. My name is James. How can I help you today?" Mark took a deep breath. He used his prepared phrase. "Hello. My internet is very slow." James replied, "I am sorry to hear that. Can you please look at the back of your router and tell me the model number?" Mark looked at his list. He didn't have model number on his list. He felt a moment of panic. Router was there, but model number? He paused. He stayed calm. He thought about the context. The man wants information about the router. The router has numbers on it. Mark looked at the back of his machine. He saw a code. He read it out. James said, "Thank you. And what color is the light on the front?" Mark knew light and color. "It is red," Mark said. "Okay," said James. "That means the signal is weak. I will send a technician to your house tomorrow." Mark heard technician and tomorrow. He did it. He understood the plan. By preparing his keywords and staying calm, he navigated a difficult phone conversation successfully. This is a huge confidence booster. You can do this too. Before you make a call, take 2 minutes to predict the vocabulary. It makes a massive difference. Now, let's move on to another common challenge: listening to entertainment, movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos. Many students ask me, "Alex, how can I watch movies without subtitles?" The truth is, even at B1 level, you can watch movies, but you have to change your strategy. You cannot expect to understand every line of dialogue. Movies are not made for learners. They use slang, idioms, background noise, and music to tell the story. But the good news is, movies are visual. You have pictures to help you, just like in a silent movie. Let's talk about Chloe's experience. She loves watching detective series on TV. At first, she used subtitles in her own language, but she realized she was reading, not listening. So she made a change. She switched to English subtitles. This helps connect the sound to the spelling. But sometimes, even English subtitles are distracting. So Chloe tried scene watching. She would watch a scene for 2 minutes with no sound at all, just looking at the actions. She would ask herself, "What is happening? Are they fighting? Are they falling in love? Are they cooking?" Then she would turn the sound on. Because she already knew the action, her brain was free to focus on the words. Let's try this concept right now. Imagine a scene where a man is running down the street. He is looking at his watch. He is sweating. He waves his hand. A taxi stops. He gets in and yells, "Airport!" Without hearing anything, you know he is late for a flight. Now, if you turn on the sound and hear him say, "I am going to miss my flight. The traffic is terrible," you understand it perfectly because you predicted the situation. Context plus sound equals understanding. We also need to talk about something called connected speech in more detail because this is where movies get tricky. We touched on it before, but now we need to get comfortable with it. Native speakers don't say, "I am going to go to the store." They say, "I'm gonna go to the store." The to and the almost disappear. For a B1 learner, to the store sounds like one long word. But remember our fishing net? We catch the big words. Gonna, go, store. We ignore the small connections. If you hear someone say, "Jeet yet?" it sounds like a completely foreign word. But if you are at a dinner table and they have a plate of food and they say, "Jeet yet?" your brain should think, "Eat yet." Did you eat yet? You are decoding the sound based on the situation. Don't get angry at yourself when you don't hear the full pronunciation. It isn't your fault. English speakers are lazy with their mouths. You just have to be a smart listener. Let's practice decoding some common movie phrases. If you hear "what you doin'," translate it to "what are you doing?" If you hear "I don't know," translate it to "I don't know." If you hear "let me see," translate it to "let me see." See the pattern? The endings of words get cut off. When you hear these mushy words, don't panic. Just think of the most common phrase that fits that situation. 99% of the time, you will be right. This is about guessing with confidence. Chloe watched a movie where a character said, "Hold on a sec." Chloe heard, "Hold on sec." She paused. She thought, "Wait, hold, second." She realized it meant, "Wait a moment." She smiled. She decoded the code. Every time you decode a phrase like this, your listening becomes faster and more automatic. Another tool for your listening toolbox is shadowing. This is a technique where you listen to a short sentence and immediately repeat it out loud, copying the speed and the rhythm. This helps your ears get used to the sounds of English. Mark tried this with a podcast. He would listen to one sentence, pause the audio, and say it exactly as he heard it. At first, it was hard. His tongue felt tied. But after a week, he noticed that he could hear the difference between ship and sheep much better. By speaking the sounds, his ears became more sensitive. It is like training a muscle. If you want to run faster, you have to practice running. If you want to listen faster, you have to practice speaking at that speed too. You don't need a partner. You can do this in your room, in your car, or even in the shower. Just listen and copy. We also must talk about emotional listening. Sometimes we don't understand because we are too focused on the grammar and we miss the emotion. Words carry feelings. Think about the word really. It can mean surprise. Really? I didn't know that. It can mean disappointment. Really? That is all you have? It can mean suspicion. Really? Are you sure? The word is the same, but the voice changes everything. When you are listening, pay attention to the music of the voice. Is it going up or down? Is it loud or soft? This helps you understand the true meaning, even if you miss a few words. For example, if someone says, "Great job," with a flat, low voice, they might actually mean, "That was bad." If they say it with a high, excited voice, they really mean it. Listening for emotion is a shortcut to understanding. It bypasses the translation center in your brain and goes straight to your feelings. Let's check in with Mark and Chloe one last time in this part of our journey. They decided to go to the cinema to watch a new comedy movie. This was a big test for Mark. Usually, he waits for the movie to come out on streaming so he can use subtitles. But Chloe encouraged him. "It is okay if we don't get every joke," she said. "Just enjoy the atmosphere." During the movie, there were moments when the audience laughed, but Mark didn't understand why. He felt a twinge of frustration. But then he looked at the screen. He saw a character slip on a banana peel. He didn't need the words to understand it was funny. Then he heard a character say, "I am in a pickle." Mark knew pickle was a food, but the character looked worried and trapped. Mark thought, pickle, problem, trouble. He guessed "in a pickle" meant in trouble. He laughed, not at the joke, but at his own success. He understood the idiom from the context. He realized that even when he missed the words, he was still enjoying the movie. He was still following the story. He stayed calm, and that made all the difference. So, in this section, we have moved from the basics to real-world application. We learned about anchoring in group conversations with Mark at the dinner party. We tackled the telephone by preparing keywords. We explored scene watching and decoding connected speech in movies. We practiced shadowing and listening for emotion. All of these skills are built on the same foundation. Stay calm, don't panic, and focus on what you do know, not what you don't. Listening is an active sport. You have to participate in it. You have to predict, guess, and sometimes be okay with being a little bit lost. Because even when you are lost, you are learning. Now, we are going to step into environments that are even more challenging. Environments where English is structured, formal, or incredibly noisy. We are going to look at how to listen in academic settings, how to navigate loud streets, and how to filter out the trash words that native speakers use. This is about refining your ear to hear the gold in the dirt. So, take a deep breath, relax those shoulders, and let's get ready for the next level. To help us navigate these new challenges, I want to introduce you to two new friends. Let's call them Elena and Ben. Elena is a very serious student. She loves reading, and she loves structure. Ben is the opposite. He loves action, sports, and being outdoors. Both of them are at a B1 level, but they struggle with different things. Elena struggles when people don't speak in perfect grammatical sentences. She gets frustrated by slang. Ben struggles with long, boring speeches and technical language. Together, they are going to show us how to handle the extremes of English listening. Our first scenario takes place in a classroom or a seminar room. Elena had decided to attend a lecture about the history of the city. She thought her vocabulary was good enough, but 10 minutes into the lecture, she was lost. The speaker was a professor. He spoke clearly, but he spoke for a long time without stopping. Elena was trying to write down every word he said. She was a transcription machine, furiously writing in her notebook. But her hand couldn't keep up with her ears. She started to sweat. She missed a verb, then a noun, and suddenly her notes didn't make sense. She looked around and saw Ben sitting next to her, leaning back in his chair, looking relaxed. He wasn't writing much at all, yet he was nodding along. After the lecture, Elena asked Ben, "How did you understand everything? I was writing so fast and I still missed half of it." Ben smiled and showed her his notebook. It wasn't full of sentences. It had words and arrows. It had 1900s to big growth, problems, traffic, and solution, new bridges. Ben explained his secret. He was listening for signpost words. Signpost words are words that tell you where the speaker is going. They are like signs on a highway that say, exit left, stop, or caution. In English listening, words like first, however, therefore, in conclusion, and for example, are signposts. Elena was so focused on the details that she missed the structure. Ben ignored the details and followed the signs. Let's practice this concept right now, because it will change the way you listen to lectures or presentations. Imagine I am given a speech. Many people think that learning a language is hard. However, I believe it is fun. For example, talking to new people is exciting. Therefore, you should practice every day. Now, if you focus on the signposts, you get the map. Hard is the first idea. However, means a change is coming. Fun is the opposite idea. For example, means a story is coming. Therefore, means the result or advice is coming. You don't need to write, "Many people think that learning a language is hard." You just write, "hard to but to fun." This saves so much brain power. Elena realized that she didn't need to record the audio of her life. She just needed to draw the map. By focusing on these signpost words, she stopped panicking about the fast speed and started seeing the logic of the speech. This is a crucial B1 skill. Move from hearing words to hearing ideas. Now, let's switch to Ben's world. Ben loves to travel, and travel often means noise. Cars, buses, wind, sirens, and people talking in the background. Listening in a quiet room is easy. Listening on a busy street corner is hard. Ben was in a new city, trying to find a famous sports stadium. He was lost. He stopped a man who was walking a dog. Ben asked, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the stadium?" The man was very nice, but just as he started to answer, a large truck drove by. The man said, "Yeah, sure. You just go straight," and the truck noise drowned him out. Ben heard straight and then nothing. He panicked. He didn't want to ask the man to repeat himself again and look stupid. So, what do you do when noise kills the signal? You use the context check. Ben knew the stadium was a big building. He knew he was on a main road. The man pointed his finger. Ben saw the direction. Even though he didn't hear the rest of the sentence, he knew straight. He also knew that usually directions involve landmarks. He smiled and said, "Okay, straight, and then do I turn left or right?" Notice what Ben did there. He didn't just say, "What?" He used the information he had to ask a specific question. He predicted that a turn was coming. The man nodded and said, "Right. You turn right at the big clock tower." Ben heard clock tower. He had a new landmark. He was safe again. When you are in a noisy place, accept that you will miss parts. It is normal. Even native speakers say, "Sorry," all the time in loud places. But instead of giving up, use the pieces you did hear. If you hear train, 10 minutes, and platform, you have enough. Don't let the noise make you freeze. Ben used the visual clue of the pointing hand and the word straight to build a map in his head. He stayed calm, and he found the stadium. He didn't need every word. He just needed the path. This is about being adaptable. If one channel of information, your ears, is blocked by noise, open another channel, your eyes or your logic. Another huge challenge for B1 learners, and for Elena in particular, is what we call fillers and hesitations. We have talked about connected speech, but now we need to talk about the garbage words that native speakers put into sentences. Words like ah, like, you know, and kind of. To a learner, these sound like important words. Elena was chatting with a friend at a coffee shop. Her friend said, "So I was like going to the store, and I saw, this dog, and it was, really cute." Elena was trying to translate like as the word like in I like ice cream. She was confused. Was she similar to a store? Was she similar to going to the store? It made no sense. The secret is to treat these words as silence. When you hear just delete it. When you hear like in the middle of a sentence, it is just a pause. Your brain must learn to filter them out. Think of it like a coffee filter. The water goes through, the grounds stay behind. The sentence is the water. The ums and likes are the grounds. Throw them away. Let's try filtering a sentence together. Imagine someone says, "I, think that we should kind of go to the, movies later." If we filter the trash, it becomes, "I think that we should go to the movies later." Much simpler, right? Elena practiced this. She pretended she had a remote control with a mute button. Every time she heard or like, she mentally pressed mute. Suddenly, people's speech became much clearer. She realized that people aren't speaking fast. They are just pausing with sounds. Once she ignored the sounds, she could hear the grammar. This brings us to another advanced topic: listening to the news. Many students try to watch CNN or BBC to improve, and they give up immediately because news English is very specific. It is formal, fast, and full of proper names. However, news is actually very predictable. News stories always follow a pattern. They start with a summary: who, what, where, when. Then they give details. Then they have a quote from an expert or a witness. Then they summarize again. If you know this structure, you can listen for the headers. Let's try an example. A major storm has hit the coast of Spain today. Winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour have caused damage to buildings. Local residents are describing the scene as chaotic. Authorities are warning people to stay indoors. If you just listen for the nouns and verbs, you get storm, hit, Spain, winds, damage, residents, chaotic, stay indoors. You understand the danger. You don't need to know the name of the specific town or the name of the official speaking. You just need to know storm and stay indoors. Elena tried listening to the news every morning for just 5 minutes. She didn't try to understand every word. She just tried to answer 3 questions. What is the main topic? Is it good news or bad news? Where is it happening? If she could answer those 3, she counted it as a win. This took the pressure off and made the news less scary. We also need to talk about emotional listening in a deeper way, specifically regarding arguments or disagreements. Sometimes English sounds aggressive simply because of the volume or the speed. Imagine Ben is watching a sports match in a bar. 2 fans start arguing about the game. "That was never a penalty. You are crazy." "No, the referee was right." They are speaking fast and loud. To a B1 learner, this sounds terrifying. But are they actually angry? Maybe, but maybe not. This is banter. It is playful arguing. Ben learned to look at the people's faces. If they are smiling while they shout, they are playing. If they are frowning and leaning forward, they are really angry. Listening involves reading the room. You can't just rely on your ears. You have to use your eyes to detect the emotion behind the volume. Let's take a moment to review the journey of Elena and Ben. Elena started as a tense student who wrote every word. She learned to use signpost words to understand lectures and to mentally mute filler words. She became a smart, structural listener. Ben started as a guy who got lost in the noise. He learned to use context clues and visual checks to survive loud streets. He learned to read the emotion in arguments to understand the real meaning. They both stopped trying to understand every syllable and started focusing on the message. They moved from, "What does this word mean?" to, "What is this person trying to tell me?" That is the shift from B1 to the next level. I want to give you a practical exercise to try this week. It is called the 3-word summary. Listen to any piece of audio, a song, a podcast, a YouTube video, or a conversation in a cafe. After you listen, try to summarize what you heard using only 3 words. For example, if you listen to the weather report, your 3 words might be rain, cold, tomorrow. If you listen to a commercial, it might be buy, cheap, now. This forces you to ignore the details and focus on the core message. It trains your brain to filter out the noise and find the signal. It is a simple game, but it is incredibly effective for building confidence. Remember, your brain is a supercomputer. It is constantly processing information. When you listen to English, you are giving your brain a puzzle. Don't get angry if you don't solve the puzzle instantly. Enjoy the process of solving it. Every time you guess a meaning from context, you are teaching your brain. Every time you ignore a filler word, you are cleaning up your internal database. You are doing the work. You are improving. It doesn't matter if you listen to a news report and only understand the weather. You understood the weather. That is communication. That is success. We are coming to the end of this deep dive into listening. We have covered so much ground together. We started by learning to stay calm and stop panicking. We visualized the fishing net to catch the big words. Then we moved on to being detectives, using context to guess new words and understanding connected speech. We tackled the rhythm of English, dealing with accents and setting up a daily practice routine. We explored anchoring in groups, phone strategies, and movie watching. Finally, we conquered lectures, noise, fillers, and the news. Sarah went from a nervous student at the train station to a confident listener. Mark mastered the telephone and the cinema. Elena became a structural listener, and Ben became a master of context. I want to leave you with one final thought. Listening confidence is not about understanding everything. It is about being okay with not understanding everything. It is about staying calm, trusting your brain, and enjoying the connection. English is a tool for communication, not a puzzle to be solved perfectly. Every time you listen, even if you only understand a little, you are winning. You are training your brain. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You are doing an amazing thing by learning a new language. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I am Alex, and I believe in you. You can become fluent. You can understand more. Just stay calm and keep practicing. Before you go, please remember to subscribe to English in Fluency and click the notification bell so you never miss a lesson. Sharing this video with a friend who is also learning English is the best way to support us and help our community grow. Leave a comment below and tell me which word you find hardest to catch when you are listening. Is it fast words or long words? I love reading your comments. Check out our other B1 lessons on the channel. We have grammar, vocabulary, and more practice videos just like this one. See you in the next video. Goodbye for now.